Dad, if you marry her, don't expect us at the wedding. That's what my daughter told me when I called to share the news. Not congratulations, not I'm happy for you, just that cold, calculated sentence delivered like a business transaction. I stood there in my living room, the phone pressed against my ear, and watched the afternoon sunlight stretch across the hardwood floor that Jessica used to slide across in her socks when she was 8. For a moment, I couldn't find my voice. 68 years old, widower for 5 years, and somehow I'd become someone my own daughter felt entitled to threaten. I didn't argue, didn't plead, just said, "I see," and ended the call. Then I sat down on the couch, the same leather one where Margaret and I had been sitting just an hour before, holding hands like teenagers, planning a small ceremony at the courthouse. The same couch where Jessica drops her kids off every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, without asking if I have other plans. I looked around at my house, this beautiful 3-bedroom colonial that Linda and I bought 42 years ago, and realized something had shifted. Not in the house, in me. I met Linda when I was 24. She was a nurse. I was a junior engineer at a manufacturing plant. We built everything together, paycheck by paycheck, dream by dream. This house, Jessica's college fund, the vacation to Disney World where Jessica threw up on Space Mountain and laughed about it for years. Linda made everything feel possible. When the cancer took her 5 years ago, it felt like someone had turned off the lights in every room of my life at once. Jessica was there at first. For the funeral, for the first terrible month when I couldn't remember how to make coffee or whether I'd eaten lunch. She'd bring the twins over, and their noise, their sticky fingers, their constant questions, they were a kind of medicine. "Dad needs us," she'd told Brad. I heard her say it through the kitchen door one evening. "We need to be there for him." But somewhere along the line, being there turned into being useful. The visits became scheduled. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7:30 a.m. sharp. Jessica would arrive with Emma and Noah, usually still in their pajamas, a diaper bag that weighed more than a small car, and a list of instructions that got longer every week. "Dad, Emma needs to practice her spelling words. Noah has a doctor's appointment at 3. Can you take him? Oh, and I'm running low on that organic baby food you buy. Could you grab some?" At first, I didn't mind. It gave me purpose, structure, a reason to get out of bed. But then, I started noticing things, like how Jessica never asked if I was available, just assumed. How she'd schedule playdates at my house without telling me. How Brad started stopping by to use my tools, borrow my truck, ask if I could co-sign a loan because their credit was temporarily complicated. I kept a notebook, not because I'm petty, but because my memory isn't what it used to be, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't imagining things. Groceries for the kids, $3,200 over the past year. New car seats, a crib for my guest room they insisted I needed. Clothes, toys, birthday parties at trampoline parks where I somehow ended up paying because, "Dad, you have the credit card handy, right?" Total over 5 years, $85,000. Not once did Jessica say thank you. Not once did she offer to pay me back, even partially. It was always framed as helping family, as being a team. When I met Margaret, it was at Frank's barbecue. Frank and I served together in the Army, stayed friends through 4 decades, 3 kids between us, and more bad golf games than either of us can count. Margaret was his wife's sister, visiting from Arizona. She wore a yellow sundress and had this way of laughing, really laughing, not the polite chuckle people do at parties. We talked for 3 hours, about books, about travel, about what it's like to lose someone and wonder if you're allowed to feel whole again. We started slowly, coffee dates, walks around the reservoir, phone calls that stretched into the evening. She was independent, had her own retirement, her own life. She didn't need me to fix anything. She just enjoyed my company. It was the first time in 5 years I felt like Robert again. Not just Dad or Grandpa or the guy with the spare room. 6 months in, I knew. I wanted to marry her. Not because I was replacing Linda. You can't replace 38 years of love. but because Margaret made me remember what it felt like to look forward instead of backward. I bought a simple ring, nothing flashy, proposed at the same reservoir where we'd walked 100 times. She said yes before I even finished the question. When I called Jessica to tell her, I expected surprise, maybe even happiness. Instead, I got silence. Long, heavy silence. "You're joking," she finally said. "No," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "I'm not. We're getting married next month. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. I wanted you to know first." Another pause. Then, "Dad, you barely know her. I've known her for 6 months. Your mother and I got engaged after 4. That was different." "How?" She exhaled sharply, the way she used to when I wouldn't let her stay out past curfew in high school. "This is really sudden. Have you thought about what this means? For the kids? For us?" "What it means," I said carefully, "is that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with someone who makes me happy." "What about Mom?" I felt something tighten in my chest. "Your mother would want me to be happy. She told me so. 2 weeks before she died, she made me promise I wouldn't spend the rest of my life alone." "That's not what she meant." "Then what did she mean, Jessica?" "She meant family. Us. Not some stranger you met at a barbecue. Margaret isn't a stranger. She is to us." Jessica's voice dropped, colder now. "Dad, if you marry her, don't expect us at the wedding. And don't expect things to stay the same." That's when I understood. This wasn't about Margaret. This wasn't about loyalty to Linda. This was about the house, the savings, the inheritance. "I see," I said again. "Thanks for making that clear." I hung up before she could say anything else. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every interaction from the past 5 years. How Jessica had suggested, just casually, that maybe I should add her name to the deed. For estate planning, Dad, it'll be easier when the time comes. How Brad had asked about my will, wanted to know if I'd updated it since Linda passed. How they'd pushed back when I mentioned traveling with Margaret. What if something happens and we need you? The next morning, I called Daniel Chen, the attorney who'd handled Linda's estate. "I need to see you," I said. "Today, if possible." He fit me in at 2. I brought my notebook, the one with all the receipts and dates and tallies. I showed him everything. The money spent, the time given, the quiet erosion of my boundaries. Daniel didn't look surprised. "You want to make changes?" "Yes." "To the will? The trust? All of it?" He nodded, made notes. "Who do you want as beneficiaries?" I thought about that. Thought about Emma and Noah, innocent in all this. Thought about the college funds I'd started for them the day they were born. The grandkids keep their college funds. Irrevocable trust, managed by you until they're 25. The house goes to Margaret if she survives me. If not, it gets sold, and the proceeds go to the children's hospital where Linda volunteered. "And your daughter?" "Nothing." Daniel didn't blink, just wrote it down. "She'll contest this. Let her try. I'll draft everything this week. You'll need witnesses, notarization, the whole process, whatever it takes." Before I left, I had him do one more thing. Freeze Jessica's access to the household account I'd set up years ago for emergencies. She'd been using it for groceries, gas, whatever she wanted. I'd never said no. That ended today. 3 days later, my phone rang. "Jessica." I let it go to voicemail. She called again, and again. On the 4th call, I answered. "Dad, what the hell?" "Hello, Jessica. The bank just declined my card. They said, the account's frozen." "That's correct." "Why?" "Because it's my account. And I'm choosing to manage it differently. But I need that. For groceries. For the kids. Jessica, you and Brad both have jobs. You can afford groceries. You know Brad's between contracts right now. He's been between contracts for 8 months. At some point, that's called unemployment." She made a sound, half gasp, half laugh. "I can't believe you're doing this because of her. This has nothing to do with Margaret." "Then what's it about?" I took a breath. It's about the fact that you threatened to cut me out of your life if I marry someone who makes me happy. It's about 5 years of free childcare, $85,000, and not a single thank you. It's about being treated like a retirement plan instead of a father. Silence. Jessica, I love you. I love Emma and Noah, but I'm done being your ATM and your babysitter and your backup plan. So that's it? You're just cutting us off? I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. This isn't you. She's manipulating you. No, I said quietly. You've been manipulating me. I was just too lonely to see it. She hung up. No goodbye, just dead air. Margaret came over that evening. She'd brought Thai food, my favorite even though she preferred Italian. We ate on the back deck, watching the fireflies start their slow dance across the yard. Jessica called you, didn't she? Margaret asked. How'd you know? You have that look. The one you get when you're carrying something heavy. I told her everything. The phone call, the lawyer, the frozen account. Margaret listened without interrupting, her hand warm in mine. If this is too much, I started. But she stopped me. Robert, I didn't fall in love with you because you're easy. I fell in love with you because you're kind. And what you're doing, that's not unkind. It's self-preservation. It doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to. But sometimes, the right thing and the hard thing are the same thing. We sat there until the sky turned purple, until the fireflies faded, until the only light was the small lamp above the door. And for the first time in days, I felt something like peace. Brad showed up 2 days later. Didn't call first. Just appeared at my door at 8 in the morning. I was drinking coffee on the porch, reading the paper. We need to talk, he said. About? You know about what? This whole situation with Jessica. With the money. I folded the paper, set it aside. What situation? I'm getting married. I'm managing my finances. Seems pretty straightforward. He sat down without being invited. Look, Robert, I get it. You're upset. But you're making decisions that affect all of us. Decisions about my life. My money. Money you promised would go to Jessica. To the kids. I never promised that. It was implied. Implying isn't a contract, Brad. His jaw tightened. You're being selfish. I almost laughed. Selfish. That's interesting. Coming from someone who's borrowed my truck 6 times in the last month and hasn't once filled the tank. That's different. How? We're family. Exactly. We're family. Which means I deserve respect, not just utility. He stood up, paced the length of the porch. Jessica's a wreck. She's barely sleeping. The kids keep asking why Grandpa doesn't want to see them anymore. I never said I didn't want to see them. You froze the account. You changed your will. How do you know about the will? He stopped pacing. Realized he'd said too much. Brad, how do you know? Jessica talked to the lawyer's office. They wouldn't give details, but they confirmed you'd made changes. She called my attorney. She's worried. She's greedy. The words came out harder than I meant, but they were true. This was never about Linda's memory. This was never about the kids. This is about making sure you two get the house when I die. That's not fair. You're right. It's not, but it's honest. He left without another word. Just walked to his car, slammed the door, and drove off too fast. Emma called me 3 days later. 7 years old, voice small and confused. Grandpa? It's Emma. My chest tightened. Hi, sweetheart. Mommy says you don't want to see us anymore. I closed my eyes. That's not true, Emma. I love you very much. Then why can't we come over? You can. Anytime. Your mom just needs to ask first. She says you're mad at her. I'm not mad. I'm making some changes. Grown-up stuff. Because of Miss Margaret? You know about Margaret? Mommy showed me a picture. She's pretty. I smiled despite everything. She is. She's also very kind. I think you'd like her. Can we meet her? I'd love that. If your mom says it's okay, okay. A pause. Then, Grandpa, I miss you. I miss you too, kiddo. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time, the phone still in my hand. This was the cost. Not the money, not the house. the grandkids, the possibility that Jessica would use them as leverage, as punishment. I called Frank. "You doing all right?" he asked. "Not really. Want to talk about it?" We met at the diner where we'd been meeting for 20 years. Same booth, same waitress, who still called us boys even though we qualified for senior discounts. I told him everything. Frank listened, ate his eggs, drank his coffee. When I finished, he said, "You did the right thing. Doesn't feel like it. Never does. But let me ask you something. If you gave Jessica everything she wanted, if you called off the wedding, gave her the house, kept babysitting, kept paying, would she suddenly become grateful? No. Would she suddenly treat you like a father instead of a resource? No. Then you've got your answer. Some people won't love you better just because you sacrifice more." I nodded. He was right. I knew he was right. But knowing didn't make it hurt less. Margaret and I got married on a Thursday in October. The courthouse ceremony, just like we'd planned. Frank and his wife were there. Margaret's daughter flew in from Seattle. Daniel Chen came as a witness. 20 minutes, a few vows, a kiss that felt like coming home. Jessica didn't come, didn't call, didn't send a card, but Emma did. Not in person, but she'd made me a drawing. Margaret's daughter had secretly coordinated with Emma's teacher. It showed two stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. Grandpa and Miss Margaret written in careful second-grade letters. I cried when I saw it. Margaret and I honeymooned in Charleston. Walked the Battery, ate shrimp and grits, slept late, talked about everything and nothing. It was the first time in 5 years I hadn't thought about schedules, about who needed what, about whether I was doing enough. When we got back, there was a letter taped to my front door. Jessica's handwriting. I opened it standing right there on the porch. "Dad, I don't understand what you're doing. I don't understand why you're choosing a stranger over your family. Mom would be so disappointed in you. The kids miss you, but I can't let them be around someone who's abandoned us like this. I hope you're happy with your decision. Jessica." I read it twice. Then I folded it, put it back in the envelope, and threw it away. Margaret found me in the kitchen later, staring out the window at the backyard where Jessica used to play on the swing set Linda and I built when she was 5. "You okay?" she asked. "I will be." She wrapped her arms around me from behind, rested her chin on my shoulder. "It's okay to miss her. The her she used to be. I don't think that version exists anymore. Maybe not. But you can miss her anyway." We stood there together, watching the evening light fade, and I realized something. I'd spent 5 years trying to fill the emptiness Linda left by being everything to everyone. But emptiness doesn't get filled by depletion. It gets filled by choosing yourself, by finding someone who sees you, by finally understanding that love isn't supposed to cost you everything. Daniel called the next week. Jessica's attorney contacted me. They're planning to contest the will. On what grounds? Undue influence. They're claiming Margaret manipulated you. That's ridiculous. I know. But they're going to try. I've prepared a response. We have the documentation, the timeline, the witnesses. They won't win, but it'll be ugly. Let it be ugly. I'm not backing down. Good. Because I've got one more thing for you. He sent over a video file, security camera footage from my own front door camera that I'd forgotten was recording. 2 months of Jessica dropping off the kids, always in a hurry, always with demands, never with gratitude. Brad loading my tools into his truck without asking. Jessica going through my mail one afternoon when I was in the bathroom. "Save this," Daniel said. "Just in case." I saved it. But I hoped I'd never have to use it. Margaret and I fell into a rhythm. Morning coffee on the deck, afternoon walks, dinners where we actually talked, actually laughed. She introduced me to pottery. I taught her to play chess. We were planning a trip to Ireland for the spring. One evening, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Emma, alone, holding Noah's hand. "Grandpa," she said, eyes wide. "We walked here." My heart stopped. "What? Where's your mom?" "At home." We told her we were playing in the yard. "Emma, you can't. Come inside." I called Jessica immediately. She answered on the first ring. The kids are here, I said. What? How? They walked. Emma, how far did you walk? 5 blocks, she said proudly. Jessica arrived 10 minutes later, frantic, angry, terrified. She hugged the kids, checked them over, then turned to me. What the hell were you thinking? Letting them walk here alone? I didn't let them. They showed up because you made them think they couldn't see you anymore. I never said that. You did. We stood there, the kids between us, and I saw something shift in Jessica's face. Not softness, exactly, but maybe the beginning of recognition. They miss you, she said quietly. I miss them. I don't know how to fix this. Start with the truth. Stop pretending this is about Margaret. Admit what it's really about. She looked away. It's not just the money. Then what? It's that you chose her. Over us. Over Mom's memory. Jessica, I didn't choose her over you. I chose me over being used. She flinched, but she didn't argue. The kids can visit, I said. Anytime. But you have to ask. You have to respect that this is my life, my house, my choice. What about the money? What about it? The will, the trust. That's not your business. I'm your daughter. And that used to mean something before it became transactional. She gathered the kids, buckled them into her car, and drove away. But before she did, she turned back. I'm sorry, she said. For what I said about the wedding, it wasn't enough. But it was something. Margaret and I had the grandkids over the next Saturday. Jessica dropped them off, awkward, uncertain. Margaret had baked cookies, set up a craft table, learned their favorite songs. Emma loved her immediately. Noah took longer, but by the end of the afternoon, he was showing her his dinosaur collection. When Jessica picked them up, she stayed for coffee. It was stilted, careful, but it was a start. She's good with them, Jessica admitted. She's good with me too. Jessica nodded. Didn't apologize again, but she looked at Margaret differently. Like maybe, just maybe, she was beginning to see her as a person instead of a threat. It's been 6 months since the wedding. Jessica and I aren't where we used to be. Maybe we never will be. She still doesn't understand why I changed the will, still thinks I'm being unfair. But she started asking before dropping the kids off. Started saying thank you when I help. Small things, but they matter. Brad still looks at me like I've betrayed some unspoken contract. I've stopped caring what Brad thinks. The grandkids come over every other weekend now. Margaret teaches Emma to knit. I help Noah build elaborate block towers. We're careful not to replace their mother, but we're also not afraid to love them. And me? I wake up next to someone who chose me without conditions, who doesn't need me to be anything other than myself, who reminds me every day that it's not selfish to want happiness. It's human. I think about Linda sometimes. Wonder what she'd say about all this. I think she'd approve of Margaret. I think she'd be proud of me for finally standing up for myself. I know she'd love seeing the grandkids happy. Last week, I got a call from Daniel. Jessica's attorney withdrew the contest. No explanation. Just done. I think I know why. I think she realized she couldn't win. Or maybe, just maybe, she realized she didn't want to. Either way, I'm free. The house is secure. The will is final. Margaret and I are planning that trip to Ireland. And for the first time in 5 years, I'm not waiting for permission to be happy. I'm not measuring my worth by how much I give. I'm just living. If you've been the person everyone leans on, the one who gives and gives until there's nothing left, let this be your permission. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to choose yourself. You're allowed to find joy without guilt. And if they can't celebrate that with you, maybe they were never celebrating you at all.